Hey, what's up guys? John here. We're seeing a lot of change happening to this economy. And people are asking me all the time, hey John, where are you investing money? Are you buying multifamily real estate? What about right now? I know you just moved to Florida. Are you buying multifamily real estate in Florida? The answer is no. I'm not investing in multifamily real estate. Even if you gave me a deal that was 30% or 40% off, I still wouldn't buy it. And people would say, well, why? Why wouldn't you buy it if we're in this inflationary environment? Well, I'm going to tell you a couple things that no one else is going to tell you. What we're seeing right now, look at this. So a 2020 collection of analysis, UCLA Luskin School of Public Affairs vehemently agreed and arrived at the conclusion that the only solution to the foreclosure and housing crisis was a housing decommodification. It suggested a strategy that instead prioritized state and community-owned homes that were not subject to profit speculation, right? And so we're looking at this. It says, as shocking as this spike in home loss is, they're talking about Chicago. Chicago's leading the nation right now in foreclosures. And experts said it was predictable. The inevitable result of the end of the pandemic eviction moratorium enacted by Congress in March of 2020 under former President Donald Trump and struck down in August 2021 by a Supreme Court ruling under current President Joe Biden. It was a national exercise to decommodify housing that was starved off homeless for an estimated 1.5 million, right? So it was an exercise to decommodify housing. And we're seeing that across a lot of locations, especially California. We're seeing it in many states right now. And what I think is very likely to happen is I really believe that we're going to see more and more challenges for landlords. And to be a smart and savvy investor, you got to ask yourself, how do you win the game of investing? You got to know the rules to the game, right? And the rules right now they're not yet defined. We are assuming what the rules may be, but we look at what the rules were 2 years ago and look at the rules today, they're two different games, right? We're stepping into this environment again. But now what I think is very interesting here is we're seeing people like Ken Griffin, right? CEO of Citadel. Everyone knows Citadel. Guy's worth probably $28 billion. And he just gave the police department $26 million just to expand for further training and protection because the crime's getting out of control in Chicago, right? All this connects. All this connects. The same thing right now, we saw a banker in Goldman Sachs. He was killed on a train ride just a few days ago, right? Crime's picking up. Why is crime picking up? Because people have less money. There's less opportunity. People are more desperate. Inflation is a real problem. And with these problems come solutions. These solutions are likely going to be enacted by states. And these states are going to likely push forward more agendas that are going to issue housing, issue benefits, issue programs. This is what's going to happen. They go on to say something very fascinating here. They said to have a roof over our heads is essential in human development, but this is threatened when housing is a way to make profits in communities whose market values increases and attracts the attention of corporate investors, right? They say that housing should not be something to profit. But then the big question is, should you profit off of water? Selling water bottles? What about selling health insurance? What about selling gasoline? What about selling cars? What about selling a t-shirt? What about selling anything, right? At what point, how do you define that line? That's the big question. How do you define that line? What is a human right and what is capitalism, right? Because if we live in a society that's not based on capitalism and we no longer have that relationship between supply, value exchange. For an example, let's say you have $20 and I have a product to sell you that's worth $50, but I'm willing to sell it to you for $20. You're more than likely going to exchange your $20 for that $50 because you see the value in that item worth greater than your $20. So my benefit would be to supply a lot of people with that $50 value, right? The same thing is going to be true with housing. Same thing is going to be true with everything that we need. Food, for example. We're not going to be able to go to a grocery store and say, hey, this is a human right. And then who pays the truckers? Who pays the lease on that warehouse where we just purchase the food, whether it be Costco or whatever, right? Who pays for all these things? This is the problem, is we're stepping into this new relationship, this new shift that's occurring in housing. We're seeing this across all states. So when people say, hey, John, are you investing in multifamily real estate? Normally, in this type of environment, I would say real estate 100% of the time, no doubt about it. The reason being is if real inflation is at 20% or 25%, and you can borrow money at 5%, why wouldn't you do that, right? Why wouldn't you do that? You borrow money at 5%, and then you leverage that that money that's going to be worth a lot less down the road now, right? Take that money, leverage it into a hard real asset, and then have tenants in positions. Or essentially, a good way to look at real estate is buying a multifamily apartment building is like buying a business. So when you buy a business and you have really good employees and really good staff, then the business operates well, right? And if you yourself are supplying a very big value to the area, then you're going to attract the right people, right? And those people are going to work and they're going to pay off the debt of the building, right? And it makes sense. That's how real estate's always been done. But now that whole thing is shifting. You're opening that business, and the state's going to be able to tell you, what you're allowed to sell, what you can and can't do. Even if you're allowed to make a profit, it's very fascinating. But we're witnessing this entire transition. I think this relationship with city crime is going to communicate very well with real estate, and not well in the sense of good for investors, well in terms of the city's going to come up with a solution to combat the crime. And that solution is going to be them most likely having more authority and control over properties. But the question now is, what cities are going to be better long term for real estate investing? Which ones offer more risk? It's a big question, because I'm seeing it even now in Florida. West Palm Beach is recently talking about enacting rent controls. And Tampa, same thing. Miami, housing emergency. If someone were to tell you in Florida that they would be pushing some type of rent control or some type of real estate provisions a couple years ago, you would say no, that's not going to happen. Florida and Texas, no, that's never going to happen there. But yet, here we are, right? Here we are. So that's the big reason. I'm not investing in multifamily real estate until I know the rules of the game, and we might not know the rules for quite some time. Right now, we just got to ask ourselves, where are consumer habits? Where are they going? What are the problems that people are going to be facing today that you could find a solution to where in a year, 6 months, 2 years, you're able to capitalize on that? Because people are developing new habits right now. And a lot of these habits are, through devices, through your phone, through computers, laptops. People are just spending more and more and more time here, getting more information, starting new businesses. And I believe two really, really lucrative areas to make money is, one, is finding a way for people to decrease their monthly expenses, and two, finding a way for people to make more money. If you can find a solution to one of those and scale it online and take that money and then reinvest that money well, then that will be the smartest decision, in my opinion. But right now, the big question is, where's the best place to invest? I think a lot of assets are completely overvalued. I think it's because this entire economy is a game of musical chairs. Big Brother's controlling the music, and eventually, I think sooner than later, they're going to turn off the music. There's not going to be enough chairs. So big problems coming, but massive opportunities for the smart and savvy investor who's paying attention to everything, every little detail they're paying attention to. Constantly weighing the downside risk, constantly looking at what potential problems could be coming, and really pivoting and moving with these problems, because these problems will be coming. I think they're going to be coming first to housing. What are your thoughts? Drop your comments below. Hit the like button. Subscribe here. Also subscribe to my second channel. It's going to become a podcast and an interactive show where people can call in. And then also Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Everything's in the banner. I'll catch you guys later.